What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 95 of the 214 Sports Show. I guess the Matt Duchene episode. Any
Yes,
objections, TJ Krilowicz, who is co-hosting yet again?
absolutely not. Make it the Matt Duchene
Oh,
episode,
you're right.
episode 95.
Episode 95, the Thanksgiving episode. Thanksgiving is, of course, today, and glad to be thankful for another episode with TJ. Glad to call him a work partner in this, and even more a friend. And of course, thankful for you viewing if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify. We air these every Thursday, 11 a.m. Central. And so glad to be back for another episode, in which is a great slate of Thanksgiving games. Of course, the Lions playing the Packers. It used to be the Lions game was, snoozer in the morning slate. And
Not anymore.
these past years, the
Got to
Lions have been
get up
hooping.
now.
Got to get up. Better be ready for the Lions playing. They're going to go against a divisional rival in the Packers. And then the Dallas Cowboys, possibly the best Thanksgiving game the Cowboys have played in the past 4 or 5 years, at least ahead of time, playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Only the second time they get to go against Patrick Mahomes and his Chiefs. Last time they welcomed Mahomes to AT&T Stadium, or the last time they welcomed the Chiefs to AT&T Stadium, it was Alex Smith's team at the time, and that was the game, of course, that Tyreek Hill had that buzzer beater touchdown at the end of the first half, if you remember that. And then the late slate, it'll be the Ravens against the returning Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. So all around, pretty solid Thanksgiving slate. And then the following day, it's the Texas Longhorns welcoming the A&M Aggies to DKR in Austin, Texas. We're just spoiled this week. We can't get enough games. So many, like every which way in rivalry week in college football. Michigan, Ohio State later this week as well. Awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I'll be at the Texas A&M Texas Longhorn game as a student at UT. Very excited for that, but I'm equally excited to see this Cowboys team try to carry momentum from these last two games that they've had.
Absolutely. Glad you could join us again on episode 95, our Thanksgiving episode. He's TJ Krolwitz. I'm Joseph Duffy. Let's dive in, TJ. This
Shall we?
past game for the Dallas Cowboys, unreal. Down 21 to nothing against their bitter rival coming into town, the second matchup that they played, the Philadelphia Eagles, down 21-0 and found a way to rattle off 24 unanswered points. This defense, unreal to watch. Six new players that came in from this defense, starting with the Raiders game just this past Monday, or at least a week and a half ago. And already they're making an impact, especially in the front seven. Guys like Quentin Williams and his three-headed monster of him, Kenny Clark, and Osa Digizua. How about this defense? What that effort they had this past Sunday? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's three things that I was very pleasantly surprised with Sunday's game. Now, the first thing is that they've carried momentum. The first thing is that yeah, this whole season has just been a bunch of roller coasters. It's been down and lows, down and lows. You think that the team has finally found it. Well, then you lose to Denver, you lose to Chicago, you lose to Arizona. These games that, you think that you have a chance in, team, lays an egg in those games after having a good week prior or, a big win the week before. So, that was their big win against Vegas. They had that big win, emotional win with Marshawn Nealon's passing, the new defensive players coming in. You said the six new players even coming from injury. And yeah, they come in, they win that game. Now they have to go into this treacherous three-game stretch against Philly, Kansas City, Detroit. It's very important to get that first game in this three-game stretch because it is a terrible, terrible schedule that they have been bestowed upon. But this is you beat the Eagles. You carry that momentum, which they haven't. They've struggled to do this entire season. Now, the second thing is that they pleasantly surprised me with the fact that they won the second half, and I say this because we this is a thing that we've talked about probably ever since episode one of this podcast, which is you can tell when they are going to lose a game by their play in the first quarter. And that first
Somehow they
quarter,
didn't.
yeah, I mean it was terrible. You talk about even going into the second quarter, Cavante Turpin's handoff into a fumble. Of course, allowing the Eagles to score the first three possessions. The blocked punt, which ended up being a penalty that brings it back to Philly's possession, which again, shouldn't have been a penalty against or it should have been a penalty, but shouldn't have brought the Eagles the ball back. And so all these stuff, all that momentum, it obviously shifts towards Philly. And you think that the game's over. You think, why is there any point of watching this? They actually came back and won this game. That's something that I have not seen from this Dallas Cowboys squad in a minute. Now, the third thing that I want to bring up, I know I've been rambling. Yeah, I'm trying to get my point across. But the third thing that I was pleasantly surprised about was DeMarion Overshone. Him coming back in this game, having a great game, having a couple of open field tackles against Saquon, against I believe AJ Brown once or twice. Some of these big open field tackles, having good coverage. I think Overshone had a great game, and he's came back and has been a huge factor for this defense in the last two games since coming back from injury. And that's something that I have said for a while is that I was not too sure if DeMarion Overshone was going to come back and be a huge impact on this defense with his injury issues, with the linebacker history with the Dallas Cowboys. I thought that he was going to come back and just be another player, just be another Jalen Smith, to be another Lane Vander Esch after all these injuries. And he, so far, has proved my point wrong. He's been a great player for this defense, and he's been a huge help. And especially that second half effort to keep the Eagles scoreless the entire second half. I mean, my goodness, scoreless, the defending champs. What is this
Not what I
defense, Joe?
expected.
What is this defense?
I mean, if they keep this up, this could be one of the biggest turnarounds we've seen in a single season, not just for Cowboys fans or the Cowboys history, but I mean league history. This defense was all time bad. Now, surprisingly, the Cincinnati Bengals have been just a slightly worse, so they're not technically the worst defense in the league, at least coming into that Raiders game a few weeks ago. But they've been really bad, and they're at the bottom of the league in so many categories. But these past two games, I know one of them is against the Raiders, but you do this against the Eagles, my
Mhm.
goodness. I mean, I know their offense isn't exactly firing off on all cylinders. They've been tearing their OC Kevin Patullo to shreds. They haven't really lived up to expectations like they thought post Kellen Moore either. But when you look at how they were down 21-0 and how they found a way to adjust, unreal to watch, and you can't help but just give your flowers to Matt Eberflus and shout out Elijah Clark. Huge special teams play. It's a shame the offense didn't punch in on it right there and like kind of silence the game or at least end the game right there. But you look at effort plays like that; those are guys who are trying to get in the field and you make
Right.
those crazy special teams plays like he did, getting knocked down like three straight times, and then getting back on his feet and then knocking the ball out of Xavier Gibson's hands. By the way, Xavier Gibson went to Stephen F. Austin University in Nacogdoches, Texas. But yeah, he fumbled that ball late inside the 10. That's the kind of play that kind of swings momentum. And it kind of showed that the Cowboys maybe wanted this more. And Brian Schottenheimer was saying, did we spot him 21 points in that post-game huddle? Yeah, they did. But what do you do in the fourth quarter? What do you do in the fourth that matters? The Cowboys won the game in the fourth. That's what they did. But I have to talk about CeeDee Lamb because my goodness, since 2020, CeeDee Lamb has led the league in drops. So far in two games against the Philadelphia Eagles, TJ, he has seven drops in 2025. Two games, seven drops against the Eagles. What is it with him and how well George Pickens has performed this year? Because some people are saying, man, is Pickens better than CD? Is this the guy that you want as your number one? And George Pickens give him the money and I don't know, send CD off? Obviously, I don't want that, but this is what some people are saying on Twitter. What are your thoughts on what CD has been doing with these drops recently?
Well, I like, George Pickens, I think should be the one wearing number 88 at this point.
Whew,
But
whew.
I mean, I've always, there's always been some kind of side eye to CeeDee Lamb. I think that he's a great wide receiver. I think he's an all-pro wide receiver at times. But he does have, he's not. He doesn't have that it factor sometimes, We saw that with George Pickens in Philly, we or against Philly, not in Philly that week one. It took some time for him to gel with Dak, but we saw that it factor. He made those plays. He made those big time plays. That deep ball down the left sideline over two players, Cooper DeJean, I think Blankenship as well was the second defender. Those are plays that you want to see from CeeDee Lamb. But the thing is that he's struggling even with the third and short slants that he's running. That he can't even catch those at times. You know, I'm disappointed. You know, you pay a guy that much money to, to make those catches, obviously. You know, you expect him to be almost damn near perfect on the field. And he's really struggled with that this season at times throughout the past few seasons, he's struggled with it. Um, but all that it is that it gives me more worry about how they're going to proceed with this offseason. That's what it worries me about. You know, are they actually, I don't know if they are going to, trade Lamb, but you got to find some kind of money somewhere to re-sign George Pickens because I think that's a must at this point. And I don't know how George Pickens would do without CeeDee Lamb. You know, we don't have a legitimate wide receiver three, to be honest, in my opinion. You know, Jalen Tolbert has not done anything at all in the last few games. Ryan Flournoy, he had his 100-yard game against the New York Jets. Congratulations. You know, great performance, but you know, not really a legitimate wide receiver three right there. Kavontae Turpin. You try to get him in every time. He breaks a few plays every now and then, but he's seriously not a legitimate wide receiver either, in my opinion. His height and his inability to catch contested balls is going to be tough to make him a wide receiver three. So you kind of got, you got to keep Lamb. You got to keep Lamb, but you got to find a way to re-sign George Pickens. I don't know where that money comes from at this point. You could say that, that the Micah Parsons trade helped sign, get some cap flexibility. But, you know, probably got to send somebody out the door to re-sign George Pickens because he is going to be demanding a lot of money this offseason.
And can you blame them? I mean, my goodness, they've been so dependent on him when CeeDee Lamb hasn't been necessarily doing as big of a part as we've been accustomed to him doing. But CeeDee Lamb has also been banged up at times with that silly run play he had against the Bears that had him knocked out. And he showed just how dependable Pickens could be if he's a number one guy. So he proved how good he can be. He proved how good he could be with CeeDee Lamb on the field just this past Sunday. Re-signing him has to be a priority without a doubt. Got to be number one on the list for Jerry Jones and company.
Absolutely.
So moving on to the Thanksgiving game, and what a game it'll be. The Cowboys wearing their throwbacks. I thought that the Chiefs could have possibly worn their throwbacks too, with the Texas helmet, the Dallas Texans helmet, their origins.
Saw that tweet.
Um,
We need that.
with the with the Lamar Hunt family and their origins in this area. They have deep Texas roots. They still do. They own the FC Dallas team in the MLS. And this team is going to be really challenged this week. Coming straight off of a comeback, also facing a team that had a comeback as well, going against the Colts in Arrowhead Stadium. This could possibly be the highest rated NFL game of all time. And the Cowboys Giants game of 2022 currently reigns as the highest rated regular season game of all time, surprisingly. This right here has so many storylines. You have Patrick Mahomes coming back home, going against his childhood team, the Dallas Cowboys, who he rooted for. He's also a Mavs fan. You saw how well he was cheering for them when they made the finals. But two historic franchises, both with Texas roots. Mahomes coming back to Texas. So many things to talk about. How did the Cowboys find a way to win this game? Because I think they're really blessed that this is at AT&T Stadium.
I feel like just let me say this real quick. Mahomes might be a big Mavericks fan, might be from the area, but you know, still don't like the guy. Still don't like the guy at all. I think he's
Oh,
entitled. I think he's a whiner. I think that there's a lot of things that make me dislike the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. If the Cowboys want to win this game, I mean, I just limit the mistakes. Limit the mistakes. Show that you can carry that momentum like we just did against Philly, Show that you're more of a disciplined team. They show that they were a disciplined team against Philly. Minus the first quarter, a little bit of that second quarter. But even then they didn't have a bunch of big mistakes. That penalty, of block or roughing the kicker, sorry, was roughing the punter was not the right call. He got ball on it. He tipped it. And so, there is a few things that happened in that first quarter, second quarter that was kind of out of the Cowboys' control. They still played a disciplined game. They got, the Eagles were out penalized. They got penal. Sorry, I'm stuttering like crazy here. They got penalized more than the Cowboys. If they can keep that against the Chiefs, which, a lot of people say that the Eagles are the new Chiefs of the NFL, that they are the team that gets protected the most in the league now. If you can do that against the Chiefs, I mean, you got a chance. Carry that momentum. This defense has shown now against Philadelphia that, with the return of injuries of Overshown, with the acquisitions of Quentin Williams, you can have an intimidating pass rush, an intimidating defense. You can, the rush game has been terrible, obviously, this entire season, but you go against Ashton Jeanty, 6 rushes on 7 yards, Saquon Barkley, 10 rushes on 22 yards. Pacheco's coming back. You're going to have to stop this run game for the Kansas City Chiefs, force Patrick Mahomes to throw, get some pressure on him. And we've seen Mahomes with pressure this season. He has not been that good at all. So, get that pressure on, keep that momentum going, limit the mistakes. I mean, it seems like a lot of, easy things to put on the chalkboard for the Cowboys, but, if they haven't been able to do it consistently this season, what makes us think that they can keep doing it now? So that's what I'm saying, keep that momentum going.
The Cowboys remain surely in the hunt, just ever so slightly moving uh, upwards in the hunt, if you will, after Carolina lost to the Niners. That if the Panthers won that game, they'd be solely first in the NFC South. Unfortunately, they couldn't be able to do that, so the Bucks still remain at first. But you mentioned a lot of things about the defense right there and just limiting mistakes. But offensively, I mean, this Cowboys offense is going to have a lot of work cut out for them going against this KC defense, which is really salty. Only give up about they give about 18 points a game. That's fourth in the league, seventh in yards allowed a game. Steve Spagnuolo doing as great of a job as he has in his Chiefs tenure, really in his DC career. He's a future Hall of Famer as an assistant coach. He has been excellent this year for this unit. Guys like Chris Jones, guys like Nick Bolton, who's also coming home as well for the Chiefs, former Frisco Lone Star Ranger Nick Bolton. This is going to be a really tough defense
Shout out.
for the Cowboys to try to move the ball on, and it won't be because um, exactly that. It's not going to be their fault, I guess, if they can't punch it in as well because the Chiefs have a really good red zone defense. But you have to take advantage of those opportunities that you have in the red zone, which they weren't doing that well with against Philadelphia, as you saw, especially after that special teams fumble that Elijah Clark got on Xavier Gibson. So punching it in from the red zone. Kind of weird to see that Brandon Aubrey had a missed field goal as well. So rare, a 51 yarder. It's almost like a very shocking feeling. You have like a little bad feeling in your gut when you see that happen, because you just hope it doesn't happen down the road when it really, really matters.
Oh, when he missed it, I
But
thought the game was over.
yeah, that was
I
like a
thought that
sign
was
that
it.
maybe, man, is he done? Like, if he misses, man, the team just might be finished right now. But
It felt like
they
that.
found a way
Yeah.
to go
Sorry.
ahead.
I was gonna say I felt like it was like that Packers postseason game, where he got blown out and he was missing extra points. And it's like, man, if he's not even connecting
Oh.
on his stuff, it's like there's no reason to even keep watching this game.
Yeah, well, I think the Cowboys just have to find a way, like you were saying, to limit penalties because somehow Philadelphia was getting all those penalties up 20 plus points, and the Cowboys
Crazy.
hung around. They
I know.
hung around
It's crazy.
and they found a way to stay more disciplined than Philadelphia, and they won the game. So I think getting in the red zone, limiting penalties is the key for this team because I don't know if Javonte Williams can run the ball effectively on this run defense. We saw what Jonathan Taylor was doing a few days ago against this Chiefs D. He really couldn't get anything going. It's going to be about
Good
Dak and his
point.
connection with these receivers this game. So, real
And
quick,
might I
go
say
ahead.
real quick though, I mean, this is feeling a lot like 2018, I just want to say that. I just want to point that out, okay? Cowboys, 3-5. They were 3-5 that season. Still ended up 10-6. Ended on a 7-1 record to end the season. They made a big time trade acquisition. A lot of you might remember the Amari Cooper trade with the Raiders. You know, maybe this is another
Oh no.
2018 season. I'm just saying.
Sure
Just
would be awesome. Plenty of pressure on Brian Schottenheimer and company. Real quick, let's go through the spread and over under. Over under is 52 and a half. What do you have on that?
I'm gonna be honest right now, I do not have that being over. I think this is might be the first time that I've picked an under this season on our prop bets, but give me under on this. We were talking about this. The defense has stepped up. The Chiefs have a very formidable defense, especially against the run. That's going to be a big problem for the Cowboys. I think that this game kind of ends up being a field goal game almost. Brendan Aubrey got that edge, of course. So I'm gonna go that it goes under. Not a lot of people, there's definitely a few times they reach the end zone, but it's not going to be almost every drive like that first half for the Eagles.
I'm gonna have to agree with that. I'm gonna go slightly under. I think it's gonna be, back and forth the game, but not necessarily scoring wise. Teams are just gonna trade off three and outs. I think that'll be a field goal game as well, possibly like, low 20s your final score. So I think that it can be under for sure. Currently, KC is favored by 4.5 points. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think that's all right. I think that that's pretty partially fair. Hey, you win one game against the Raiders, all right. You beat the Eagles at home, okay. All right. This team's picking it up a little bit. Once you make it three, then that's when you start getting that, hey, this team is legit. They haven't gotten to that third game yet. The third game, of course, has to be the other team in the Super Bowl last year. And so the Chiefs, uh, much like a lot of people are thinking, Patrick Mahomes homecoming, and that this is almost a must-win game for them. I don't necessarily think it's a must-win game for the Cowboys as much as it is for the Chiefs, really, to be honest. I think that the Chiefs got to play with more desperation, and especially with all the eyes on them. It's going to be the most watched game for them since the Super Bowl, no doubt. And so they're going to, I think that they come out with a punch or two, just like Philly did. If the Cowboys respond, that's great. But I think that I think that the Chiefs, I wouldn't be surprised if they cover the spread. I would not be surprised. But if the oh my gosh, if the Chiefs don't cover the spread, which I don't think they will, I think that it's a Cowboys win by a field goal.
Stephen A. Smith actually agrees with you also that he
Oh,
thinks that
that's not. Never mind then. Never mind then. I
he
don't want
said
to. Yeah, I'm
he
like I'm
said it's
moving.
not a must-win game for Dallas either. That is a good component to add to this game is that it really does feel like it's a playoff game. Like you can't lose for either team. The Chiefs especially already have five losses somehow. It's unreal. They're 5-5 this year. They've really struggled, especially early in the year, but have gotten a little bit hot. The Cowboys somehow losing the Cardinals just 2 weeks ago. Like it's unreal to think about how differently we feel about this team after two straight solid wins. I'm gonna go Cowboys plus 4.5 here. I think that's a safe one for sure. The home factor definitely is what I'm thinking about. If this is an Arrowhead, I really like 4.5 more for KC, but the fact that this is in AT&T Stadium, that place was rocking. A little more than I expected last game against the
A
Eagles.
lot of green though.
Dude, the pops were loud for the Eagles. I
Yeah.
mean, that was the most I've ever heard for an Eagles game in a long time, maybe ever,
Mhm.
honestly. It was crazy.
It's like watching a game at like Cosm or something. It's like watching a game at the bar going to AT&T Stadium. It's just a mesh of fans. There's certainly a bunch of people in there with like NFL jerseys where the team's not even playing that day. They just got them on. And of course, a lot of away fans. A lot of away fans. It's a touristy, stadium. It's one of the most remarkable things to see in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, all right? There's no mountains. There's that and the Dallas Cowboys billboard near downtown, near American Airlines Center. Those are the two biggest things in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Guess you can say the stockyards, maybe the ball tower, but to me,
A ball
AT&T
tower.
Stadium, AT&T Stadium and that Cowboys billboard, I swear that's real beer pouring down.
Oh
Those are
yeah,
the
for
two
sure.
biggest landmarks, the DFW Metroplex. So a lot of people like
Yeah.
to go there. A
You
lot
know
of
you're
away fans.
back. You know you're back when you see the waterfall. That's what I always say. You know you're back when you see. I think it was Coors. It used to be Coors. I don't know if it is anymore.
It's Miller now. And
It's
it's been
Miller
it's been
now.
changing. They had like Topo
Yeah.
Chico too. I'm like, keep a beer, man.
Man,
Don't
come
don't
on, man.
don't
What are
don't
we doing?
what are we doing with this
Topo,
seltzer? Come on.
Topo Chico.
This isn't real. This ain't real
Well,
Cowboys spear.
they moved the beginning of the Lions game 30 minutes forward, or I guess back. So I guess the Cowboys game is at 4:30 Central? Let me see if I'm right about this. Um, no, 3:30 Central. My bad.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Mixing up
You're gonna
time
you've been stuck
zones.
on that Eastern time too much.
Yikes. Yikes. Yeah, 3:30 Central kickoff for the Cowboys and Chiefs. Cannot wait to see it. Got a whole great weekend of football coming up on rivalry weekend as well in college football. Moving on to the Dallas Mavericks and TJ, the missed opportunities just aplenty. with the Mavs franchise. The Mavericks lost to the Miami Heat just a few nights ago in a historic matchup. Always a nice, fun game to watch with the Mavs and Heat, but it doesn't hit as much of the same with not many of the familiar faces from either franchise. The Mavs had a chance to win that, and Cooper Flag showed how well he can play in the clutch. He leads all rookies in clutch points by far. And yet the Mavs just could not find a way to get a game-winning shot. PJ Washington ended up breaking a few three-point opportunities. Cooper Flag didn't really have a chance to win the game in the last two or three possessions for the Mavericks, and they lose against the Miami Heat in Miami. So, your thoughts on this 14th placed Mavs team in the West, 5-14 start as far as this recording on Wednesday evening. I'm guessing you haven't wavered based off your prediction of how this team just looks pitiful to start the year.
Keep that tank train rolling, boys. Come on. Keep losing those close games. I don't care about this season anymore. It's done. I can't believe, first of all, that they are only a game and a half away from the play-in. With their record, with their performance this year, in the clutch, whatever, they are still only a game and a half away from the play-in. Now, I'm not going to make any type of, comeback and say that this team needs to make the playoffs. No, they don't. All right. This team was built around Luca. Now this team is just lost. It's like a team without their, the mother duck. They don't know where they're going. They have no clue what they're going to do. There's no plan right now. This offense is shot. We don't really have a lot of situations where, you have in the clutch moments, who are you going to go to? You barely have anyone to go to. They're going to PJ Washington for these last few shots against Miami. I mean, hey, PJ Washington's a great offensive player, probably the best offensive player we have this season since Anthony Davis decided to, not play again this year. Um, but my goodness, those were terrible shots. You
Very
saw
bad
the
shots.
it's tough, you can't even play Klay Thompson in these clutch moments anymore. He had a wide open shot and he still passed it off to PJ Washington in the corner with one of those last shots. I mean, that was take that shot, Clay. Take it. That is your shot. That is a sweet spot for you. You are open. You had that shot and you passed it up to PJ Washington, who ended up missing the wide open corner shot, which PJ has never been a good corner shooter. And so, it's tough. Maybe this is their way of saying that, this season's already over because that was just terrible execution down the stretch. I don't think that even when Anthony Davis comes back, which I don't know if he ever will, I don't know if this team has you know, the chemistry, and the camaraderie. I know that those are basically the two two of the same words, but they don't
Well,
have that to make a push, in my opinion. They don't have
yeah,
that. This is a bunch of YMCA ball. Watching the offense, it's like watching runs at YMCA.
how many times do we used to see the Mavs social media tweet, the vibes are immaculate, or just how, much friendship they used to have amongst each other? It doesn't feel that way anymore.
No
It just feels
longer.
like these are guys who just ran into the gym, like you were saying, YMCA guys looking to get a good amount of run in. Doesn't feel like they really are a team. And so you see in those last few possessions of the game, there's no ball movement. Nobody really wants to take the shot. You have Klay Thompson, like you're saying, having a wide open shot, but just bypassing it to go to PJ in the corner. It's just all out of whack. And so, Klay Thompson, he's much more of a streaky shooter, I think, at this stage of his career than being the elite shooter that we knew him to be with the Warriors. He did have a really good game against Memphis. I'll give him that for sure. Shot 6 of 12 from beyond the arc. Got into it with Ja Morant a little bit, so that was kind of fun to see that Klay still got, you know, that John back and forth that he has, if you will, with some of these younger guys as a vet. But
They need
you know,
someone
I
like
don't.
that.
You need someone like that who can stand up against these young guys like John Morant, and John Morant not necessarily playing at the most elite level that we used to see him at post-injury. But this Mavs team, 14th in the West, insane, like you were saying, that they're only a game and a half out of that last play-in spot. They're fortunate that this format exists right now because, yikes, poor start. Again, expected from both of us, I guess. The Luka trade only gets worse, and we're sitting here as fans of a 5-14 team, while the guy we just traded off, an all-time point guard, is surging on a top three team in the West and is putting up an MVP season. So
Yeah, the biggest thing that hurts is that, this was a team that was probably the only team in the NBA that could beat the Thunder. The Thunder are on a
they
run.
did beat the Thunder.
The Thunder, they did beat the Thunder. I know. And
In
so
six games, they beat the Thunder. Unbelievable,
just
man.
saying, 17-1 this year for the Thunder. They're looking like they're poised to make another run. They're going to make another run in the next 10 years. You know who also is going to be pretty good for the next 10 years? I hate to say it. All right. Maybe this is the first time that we go a podcast and talk about the Mavs without saying his name. All right. So I won't say it this time, but I mean, I'm just saying, this was a team destined to be the competitive juggernaut against the Thunder, I think. And it's over. It's over, guys. I mean, we are in rebuild mode. That's what it is.
What a shame. What a shame. And rumors of the Mavs potentially shopping Anthony Davis. I don't know if we talked about that last week, but there have been some rumors for sure of him possibly being sent out as well, and just how embarrassing that would be when that's the guy you get back, and you thought you get even more back if you're trading away a guy like Luka Doncic, but you trade away Anthony Davis, who is supposed to be one of your key pieces in this, send off of Luka Doncic. Anyways, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get over it.
Dang.
Same to you, but it's embarrassing what is happening. A
And
week
Nico
after,
Harrison's weak ass doctors have now ruined Derek Lively's career. And
yeah,
so
it's bad, man.
I knew he
Bad,
was
bad,
always going to
bad.
have injury issues, but not this bad, man. Sorry, Derek
Yep.
Lively. I'm sorry we failed you.
Well, moving on to the Dallas Stars, absolutely putting on a butt whooping in Edmonton against the Oilers. Winners 8-3. The score just wouldn't keep climbing on Tuesday night in Edmonton. A massive victory for Glenn Gulutzan and company. The Dallas Stars winning 8-3 against the Oilers. TJ, that had to feel good to witness.
I mean, Joe, is Miko Rannon the problem here? No, I'm just obviously joking right here. Obviously joking. 8-3 win without Miko Rannon, without Thomas Harley, without Matt Duchene. Big win, big statement win. Of course, the Oilers. I see them as more of a, not Golden State Warriors type dynasty. Obviously, they have yet to win a Stanley Cup final, but they take the regular season like they are like the 2018 Golden State Warriors. They just don't give a crap in this regular season. Um, Unfortunately, this is the same start for them last year, almost even worse last year. They'll eventually pick it up. They'll make the playoffs, obviously. They'll eventually beat the Los Angeles Kings in the first round, and we'll see if we could beat Colorado and maybe meet them again in the Western Conference Finals. But I mean, it's what a fantastic win. The offense is clicking now. They had a great game against Vancouver. Calgary was a little bit of a different kind of game, but um, you know, hopefully the defense can slowly pick it up a little bit more as well. Had a great game against Edmonton, but they haven't been the Dallas defense that we're kind of used to with this, how competitive they have been in the last few years. So of course, I think Thomas Harley coming back in the next couple weeks, hopefully, will help that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm just happy with the performance. Happy with everything that's going on with the Stars. They're carrying on as business as usual, and they're looking like they're poised to make another Central Division run to be in the top three and make the playoffs. We'll see if they can eventually catch up to the Avalanche. That's no big deal right now. There's still so much game left, and but the Avalanche look really good, and it's just again, it's going to be just keep carrying the regular season on as business as usual, and hopefully get prepared for that first or second round matchup against Colorado that's eventually going to come. So
Well, against Edmonton, Jamie Benn gets his 400th NHL goal. The Stars also were
about
3 of
time.
4 on the power play. Big thing that helped them that game for sure. And unfortunately, we won't be able to cover this game now, but as we're recording this on a Wednesday evening, the Stars go to Seattle to face up against the Kraken. 9 o'clock puck drop in Seattle.
One of
So
my favorite teams, by the way, the Kraken. Great
the Crack
logo,
House, the
great
Crack
name.
House.
the Crack House. Come on, how can you not love that? All right, that's a great name for a stadium.
Are you still rocking with Utah Mammoth, who they have actually after the Kraken, by the way? Do you like that
They're
team
pretty
name?
damn they're a pretty damn good team this year. They're building a squad over there in Utah, right? I mean, I like them. I think that they're a fun brand too. I think that I think that NHL has done great with brands. I think if you're talking about like logos, team names, jerseys, I think the
It's
NHL has
solid.
every team beat. All right, they're solid with it. Another team, one of my favorite team names is the Sharks. Where the hell? Why are no other teams called the Sharks in professional leagues? A cool ass animal. They're intimidating. They're a great mascot. There's no colleges. There's no professional teams other than the NHL team that is called the Sharks. What's up with that? Come on. We gotta figure that out.
You'd be surprised. The only shark mascot I can think of is, I guess, the Ole Miss mascot, no longer a Red, but it's really they have a shark mascot over there, but that's the closest you'll get besides the San Jose Sharks.
Oxford,
But with
Mississippi, known for their
yeah,
sharks.
yeah, for sure, known for their sharks. Yeah, but with 3 minutes left, we'll go ahead and close this one. By the way, Texas Rangers, moving on, a lot of familiar faces. Marcus Semien officially a free agent, or not a free agent, but traded off to New York in exchange for Brandon Nimmo, also no more El Bombi, Adolis Garcia, and also Jonah Heim. All three guys were on the one and only championship team of the Texas Rangers. Just you hate to see those guys go, but for a lot of them, it was time, TJ.
Yeah, I mean they're legends. I think that the Rangers got one of, an amazing return for someone like Marcus Semien who had a lot of money left. He's aging. He's had two consecutive bad seasons. They got someone in Brendan Nimmo who a lot of people thought needed a scenery change as well, but his stats, I mean, if you compared it to the rest of the lineup this year, I mean, it's one of the best. He's leadoff. All right, he's batting leadoff for us, just like Semien was basically for a lot of the season. So I mean, I like the trade. Marcus Semien always going to be a Rangers legend for me. Always going to be somebody that I admire and I like. Same with El Bombe, of course, and Jonah Heim for all the memories that they brought and all the clutch moments they brought in that 2023 World Series. That's special, special moment in my life. I'm never going to forget what they did. Same with Josh Spores, his amazing performance in the postseason that year.
Yep.
Got to give it to him. Hey, they haven't done anything since, but got to respect them for what they did. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, we don't get a crap ton of titles a lot of times in DFW, more than some other
Absolutely
teams,
not.
but they don't come every day like Boston. So we cherish those runs like they had in 2023. That'll do it for episode 95 of the 214 Sports Show, the Matt Duchene Thanksgiving episode. Thank you for joining us. Again, we do post these in full length on YouTube and Spotify every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Same on Spotify and share with somebody you know and love. Also, we post our reels and short form content on Instagram, Twitter, and X. Also, TikTok and YouTube Shorts. A lot of our takes there, some funny moments here and there as well. TJ, want to give your social really quick with less than a minute?
You got me on a timer here. Yeah, my ex, you could get me at TJ_Krilowicz and on Instagram, TJ.Krilowicz. You can follow me on both over there.
And you can follow me at Joseph_Duffy99 on X and Instagram or on TikTok at Joe_Duffy. Again, please like and subscribe this video. Everything's below in the description. We have also segments of each team as well following. So happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining us in episode 95. We'll see you next week.
Happy Thanksgiving. Go Cowboys.